This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And with me today for this SNN Live video interview is Neil Seeman. He is the CEO of RIWI Corporation. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: RIW on the CSE and RWCRF in the US. Neil, good to see you. How are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you, Robert. It's about 14 degrees Celsius, balmy by Toronto standards. I think about 60 Fahrenheit.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh, 60 Fair. Oh, good. You know, as
Something like that.
us US people, Celsius, huh? What goes on? Anyways, it's been a while since we had you on, and before we get into some updates, real quick, let's get an overview of RIWI, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you. We're a global trend tracking predictive analytics company using machine learning. We collect a unique exclusive stream of sentiment from every country, every territory in the world to help companies predict their earnings, understand new markets, and also to fight violent conflict and understand abrupt change anywhere in the world.
Got it. So we actually last spoke was June 2019. So since then, the company has announced multiple new contracts with sectors across the board. RIWI also posted year-over-year profit growth by 118% from 2018 to 2019, as well as 17% growth in revenue during that same time period. So got to ask, let's elaborate a little bit on these developments. And also, can you speak to the nature of who these new contracts are with?
Yeah, thanks, Robert. I mean, what's really most pleasing to me, obviously, I care about all of those profitable growth, revenue, cash from operations, growth, and working capital metrics. But what I'm really pleased by is our increasing movement toward recurring revenue, right? So across all our clients, these are really what we're focused on now. So we have a reasonable certainty that a contract will renew. This is a big development for us. We evolved from a think tank, moved into a for-profit company. And so whether it's with our G7 agencies like the State Department, you've got varied agencies within the State Department. In the humanitarian sector, the World Bank, for example, you've got different groups across the World Bank where we expand. B of A Securities, again, expanding both the thematic groups around the world and the nature of the work that we do, including monetizing historic data sets.
Got it. So I have to ask, you with what your company does with your prediction technology. I remember you guys were famous for predicting the outcome of the 2016 election. So, I mean, there's a lot of big ticket items going on that are getting a ton of news flow, from COVID-19, the coronavirus, to, now we have another election cycle coming through in 2020. What's some of the indicators and data that you're seeing thus far?
Yeah, thanks. On the 2020 election, we're tracking that on a regular basis. Essentially, sort of a couple big surprises maybe is you have still a slight majority of the population that's uncertain of the outcome. Tens of thousands of RIWI predictors are putting a slight edge to the president. It's close between Biden and Sanders, but undoubtedly Biden is edging Sanders out quite consistently. So we're pretty confident in this consistent level of prediction, and the president enjoys quite consistent strength. But this does sort of redound to the second question, which is COVID-19, which is all-encompassing. As you may recall, Robert, we really grew out of pandemic surveillance research, originally funded by the government here in Canada. So we have a great deal of work and pedigree in this area. So we're doing a lot of work now with universities, also with our data dissemination partners, International SOS, understanding all across China, other affected parts of the world, economic resilience and community confidence in different parts of the world. And we were early to see, for example, in China, and we published on this and reported on this, that there was growing a sense of confidence that China would rebound. And we do see that. Rest of the world, unclear. What we see in the markets and in the world generally is an inability to process what I call probabilistic evidence. So we have a tendency to only want to see and understand deterministic sort of binary evidence. Is it going to be worse? Is it going to be better? When in fact, there's a panoply of data points that you have to look at. And it's complex and complex dynamic. And that's going to continue. So we're looking around the world. We're working with some really smart, amazing groups to get a better handle on where this is going to go.
I was going to say, how do you make that more, as you said, there's so many complex factors that determine, to get away from that binary option. I mean, how do you drill it down so that you make it, more, I guess you'd say, understandable to the common public?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think to borrow a phrase that some of our hedge fund clients use, it's important to be bias aware. So, for example, we have a tendency in the West to have what's called confirmation bias. So when we see bad news, we tend to inflate that bad news. And we're sort of continually on the hunt for that bad news. And then it's also incumbent on epidemiologists and public health experts to present models that can present bad news. So again, it's really about accuracy and truth. At the end of the day, that's what we want to do. So we're just, at the end of the day, we're focusing in on what we focus in on, which is understanding people's sense of confidence about where things are going to go, what people are seeing in the street, whether or not, for example, people have the ability to work from home. This is really important because that's a measure on economic resilience and economic stability, and it's variable in different parts of the world. So within this noise, we're trying to get signal. And we do know that there's going to be resilience. It's just that the time that it takes to get back to normal may be different in different parts of the globe.
Gotcha. So, okay, then moving forward from what you can tell us, what are the one or two things investors should pay attention to when looking at RIWI moving into Q2 and the summer?
Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, what we want to do is move increasingly to a recurring revenue model, which we are, which again is a reasonable certainty that these contract signings that you're seeing are going to continue into the future. So unlike sort of an advanced VenCap company, we don't immediately sort of recognize as revenues upon signing 3 years, 5 years, 20 years into the future. But we're increasingly focusing on long-term value customers. So we have amazing customers now, but again, when you see these announceables, understand that we're going to give a future, we want to give as much confidence into the future as possible. So that investors can essentially build a model and say, RIWI is kind of a swan company, sleep well at night company. Understand that in this context of turbulence, RIWI is certainly not recession proof. I don't like to use that word, but system shock proof in the sense that in the context of uncertainty, people, companies, the nature of the client base we have always wants to understand the truth, perhaps more so than they do when there's stability in the world.
I think that's a good way to end it. With that, where can audience go and find more information about RIWI?
So best thing to do is go to our website, RIW.CRF. You'll see all our financials, all our monthly reports, and anything else in terms of case studies and recent data of potential interest to you. Thank you.
Neil, thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to our next chat.
Thanks, Robert. Enjoy the weather. Stay well. All the best. Thank you.